So, to kick off our 2025 Social Justice Speaker Series, Dr. Ilyasah Shabazz will be interviewed by Dr. Shadon Battle. And let us honor Malcolm X, not only for remembering what he stood for, but by carrying that vision forward through collective action, imagination, and solidarity.
So, first, Dayton, Ohio, it is such an honor to be here with you today. I can't, it really is. I don't remember the last time I was in Dayton, but I said that I must have been here before. Malcolm introduced a human rights agenda to the civil rights movement. That is so important, right? Because for so long, we were not even considered human, let alone did we think we had our own rights. He traveled the world seeking solutions to the human condition that oppressed its brother, looking for support. And he gained the support from 33 heads of states on the continent. And that was work. He traveled alone. He was a young man. He was only in his 30s. And it was for the purpose of being strategic and taking the U.S. up on charges for violating the human rights of its citizens. Because he believed that America should give liberty and justice to all citizens. He insisted upon it. You know, I know that my mother always said her husband loved his people and that she loved her husband. And for me, you know, I love both of my parents. The greatest gift that they gave me was an opportunity to love who I am so that I do not have to rely on others to determine their self-worth, and the same that I do with my students. You know, I think it's so important to know who you are, to have your set values. It was my father's moral compass that enabled him to speak truth to power. And he loved his people, and he loved truth. And it was for those reasons that he was able to do the work that he did without asking for a penny in return. There was nothing violent about my father. My father was compassionate. He was only in his 20s when the world learned of him. Young people were marching, protesting, demonstrating to integrate schools for quality education, for employment, for all of these things. And my father said, "We demand our human rights as your brother. We demand our human rights as ordained by God." And there was no asking for these things, but that as human beings, we are entitled to these things. And if I learn to love me, then I can learn to love you. If I see myself as a reflection of you, then the love goes both ways. But if we don't know how to love ourselves, then certainly we're not going to know how to love others. And I think that was the predicament we were in. So my mother didn't focus on Malcolm X the icon. I learned about Malcolm X the icon when I went to college. She focused on Malcolm, her husband, daddy, you know, the kindness, the compassion, the responsibility, the man who wrote poetry, the man who loved literature. And you know, that was the Malcolm that I knew, and that was the focus of my mother, to make sure that her girls knew what love was and knew that our father and our mother loved us.
As the kids say, she cooking.
Just a recognition and an acknowledgement of how important, first of all, libraries are as points of convening and points of bringing people together, especially around literature and history and building community. Today, I also don't think people realize that it is 5 years since the death of George Floyd. And so to have this gathering of people here today, we're just immensely pleased at the turnout of this event. And it also kind of help us understand the importance about being in community, that libraries, branches that are set in certain communities really activate their facilities to their highest and best use of service to the communities we serve.